Là mute một tôi đừng đi.
Aż nie czujemy?
Hello, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You can hear and see me, correct?
Yes, correct.
Oh, good morning. Is that St. Clair's College? Oh, good morning. Hi. My name's Philip Beadle. I'm ringing on behalf of the Chin family. I've just had an email.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, story.
Okay. We will start in a minute.
Yes, because here
With
you
the
cannot
presentation.
find cards, you cannot find locals, so I said that they, our NCC, no, I came by car from Venice, 6.5 hours.
just with our, can you hear us? Someone needs to stop the audio. Okay. So Jedi had the vision and vision to make peace more profitable than war. This is why we are placed at the World Economic Forum, the global platform for economic transactions with large scale. And peace for us, peace technology, is possible when we all collaborate from a space of inner peace together and create, give in a way and take in a way that we make the pie bigger for all those beings on Earth. So today, we speak about a collaboration on a science that has not been there on planet Earth before, about technologies that will make us collaborate in a way and provide a livelihood in a way that does not harm the planet. We're talking about green hydrogen, and I wish for us in our roundtable today that we not only get out with inspiration, but collaboration takes action. Without action, there's no impact. And with this said, we have curated the leaders in green hydrogen industries from different players of the ecosystem, also relevant because without each actor in that ecosystem, there cannot be a transformation in the time needed to make it happen, to really move the needle on a global scale and advance the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, as the United Nations had proclaimed. So we have today in the room leaders who are leaders in research, leaders in technology, pioneers in the industry, leading investors, all those who need to come together to co-create what is a better future for all to come. Thank you very much. And I will give the word over to our first keynote speaker now, Mr. Korbo. Korbo Khatib Markais is the CEO at Hydrogen Europe, and he will join us as inspiration about the trends and what has happened in the hydrogen industry to get to where we are today. Thank you so much. And it's remote, but we couldn't join us in person today. So we will share the screen. And then if you have any questions at the end of our roundtable, we have space to answer any Q&A all together with the speaker.
So many thanks for the invitation and many thanks for the opportunity to speak, to such a big issue. Hydrogen as a peacemaker. I like this very, very much because it will be the title of my next book. But I would like to start to introduce myself. My name is Yorgos Chatzimarkakis, CEO of Hydrogen Europe. Hydrogen Europe is an association with 530 members. Most of them are industrial members, so corporate members, big and medium-sized, but also small. And we have national associations that deal with hydrogen and energy in their respective countries. And we have also regions. And I guess you will deal with hydrogen valleys also in that meeting today. And valleys are basically another word for regions, sometimes transnational, or as in this meeting here, transcontinental conglomerates of regions working together. The big question is, why hydrogen? And what do we expect over the next months, years? First of all, it's good that in Davos, people are every year looking into the world economy, but also how economy and politics and long-term stability fit together. And what we see clearly is that there is a downturn of economic activity in some countries. I mean, China still +%, but much less than expected. Germany, the country I know best, despite my Greek name, and the country with most of the hydrogen projects worldwide, goes really down. So you can watch deindustrialization basically on a daily basis, real life. And this is where the Germans have discovered hydrogen as a way out. Why? Because we have, on one hand, we have this big climate challenge. I will come to COP28 in Dubai in a second, but climate and mitigation of our human impact on climate is, of course, one of the major drivers also of the European, but also, meanwhile, worldwide economic players. And the other big issue is, of course, to overcome dependencies from certain energy sources, like in the German case, the very, very unique case of high dependency on Russian gas. And this led to a new thinking, to an understanding we need to replace this fossil element. We need to replace, in that case, Russian gas or any fossil energy carrier. And hydrogen is indeed the way out. So basically, we have the idea of replacing something. The second issue is, and that is where the global and the peaceful aspect of hydrogen comes into place. Everybody can produce hydrogen. The ones who have better access to renewable sources, or in some cases, nuclear sources, they can be faster because hydrogen will most probably and most likely be produced out of electricity. And if it's renewable or nuclear, it's clean, it's green or clean. And hence, countries, I will mention a country, Namibia, which is one of the least populated countries given its vast space in the world, is an ideal candidate, like Mauritania, to take two African countries, to have production of wind and solar-based electricity, and then transform it into hydrogen with the access to seaside. You do desalination, you need the water, you split it, and then you transport it via ships to the rest of the world. So what will happen in Namibia, to give one example, is that until 2030, 60% of jobs will come on top. 60% of existing jobs on top. And you can imagine what that means. That means that people will find a future in that country, that people will most probably immigrate because you need to skill, upskill or reskill people. South Africa, the neighbor, might be a very good partner in building that up. And you see, the country emancipates, and that's a big word. Hydrogen offers opportunities to emancipate via giving you access to a new energy carrier that in the long term will be very, very cheap and make you independent. And this is where in the long term, peace, hydrogen as a peacemaker, comes into play. Why? Because we need new forms of cooperation. So Namibia will, due to the hydrogen perspective, have much more electricity production than foreseen before. The grid in Namibia is too small for such a high amount. And hence, the first product to export is electricity as such. And South Africa suffers from cuts and would need that. I stay with this example to make myself understood. Here, you have a new cooperation of two neighbors. And this, if you think about a very, very hot area, Eastern Mediterranean, where at the moment, unfortunately, we have a hot conflict, you will see also forms of cooperation into this direction. I know that my friend Cornelius Mattes is one of the next speakers. And as the Europeans are working very, very closely, not only with Africa, but especially also with the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa, this cooperation that we look into, basically to overcome the dependency of Europeans of Russian energy by being more resilient, by having access to other supplies like Northern African. This is what we are going to look into. And here we see already new forms of cooperation. We have witnessed over the last months that the attacks of Hamas to Israel did not bring Saudi Arabia far away from Israel. No, the opposite is the case. there are moves of protecting Israel. There's one project I would like to mention, which is one big pipeline in the Eastern Mediterranean called EastMed, which would connect Saudi Arabia via Egypt, and then Israel, Cyprus, Greece, Italy, and Central Europe. And so far, it was very, very difficult to get there out of the political situation. But now, due to conflicts that also need to be overcome, this perspective of one of the biggest hydrogen producers in the world, Saudi Arabia, to have access to this pipeline and to Central European markets, this makes a cooperation within the whole region really possible. So what I want to say is we need to think a little bit bigger than we did in the past. And we need to understand that all investments into these new carriers, hydrogen and its carriers and derivatives, like green ammonia, like e-methanol, like ENG, I'm not going into explaining everything, but it's all based on green or clean hydrogen. And these derivatives can basically change business models in the whole region and drive a cooperation. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because there is always this question mark. Is it worth it? Is it not the champagne of the energy transition, this hydrogen? Is it not too expensive? I'm very, very clear on that. No. We are basically, as humans, confronted with a paradigm shift. If you go for a paradigm shift from horses to cars, first trains and then cars, then you do investments in order to make this future possible. And these investments at the moment are still lacking. That is why investors who look into projects out of the hydrogen valleys globally, 80 of them, we have 60 in Europe. But if you look at the FID, the final investment decision, we will end up in only 5%. And this is alarming because 5% only investment decision means that it's all nice plans, but there is no de-risking strategy. And this is exactly what I would like to make clear. We need a de-risking. We need also more confidence by political decision makers to this new carriers in order to attract these investments, to crowd in the private investment, which is waiting for these signals. And peace as a basis is a very good signal, but also, of course, the mitigating effect on climate. We have a problem. In order to get there, we don't only need investments, we also need skills. So skilling up and reskill people that are already in industries or skill up people that want to get into these industries is a big issue. I have the honor to tell you that yesterday we launched the European Hydrogen Academy, which is basically a virtual, long-term, virtual academy that is building up content for academic education, but especially for vocational training, so on the job. And this will be spread first in Europe, but then also all over the world via digital partnerships with other universities or with carriers of vocational training. So you see, we are preparing for that. We are also building up a European Hydrogen Bank, which tries to de-risk. I mentioned the de-risking aspect. I'm honest to you, I would hope all this goes faster. I would hope some of the decisions, what is the definition of clean hydrogen, what is the definition of green hydrogen, would be also conveyed faster. But after 2023, I can tell you that at least the Europeans did deliver the regulatory framework. It's now indeed, and I very much appreciate what was said in the opening remarks about action, about putting all this into practice. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to open this important event in Davos, despite not being there in person. And I'm super happy to see that the hydrogen message gets across. I personally have just launched this book, The Hydrogen Philosophy, which calls for the end of the Anthropocene, so the man-made impact, And via hydrogen and its abilities to create circular economies goes to the cyclocene. So the next big era where stability of a society, stability of an economy is not linked to economic growth only or to a gold standard like before, but to the ability to be self-sufficient, to be autonomous in the cyclical economic aspects. I'm very, very grateful for this possibility here. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you so very much for this very inspirational opening keynote. The call for urgent action together. Next speaker up, unfortunately, he cannot join us on site today, but Cornelius Mattes is the CEO at MENA Hydrogen Alliance. And he's paving the path for us to understand the region's activities and ambition. Please share the stage and a welcome for Cornelius.
Thank you very much. That's really kind of you, and I highly appreciate the opportunity as well. I was in Davos yesterday, and I'm so sorry I cannot be today, but it is really fascinating to see people coming together, hydrogen high on the topic. So that was a thing. Jorgo referred to COP28, where we had a joint event, the Hydrogen Transition Day as well, and announced our partnership together with Hydrogen Europe and the African Hydrogen Partnership. So at COP28, I've been based exactly for 10 years now in Dubai and 14 years in the region, Middle East, North Africa. And at COP28, that was pretty special to have this in Dubai. And my two takeaways were actually trust. So many people were talking about trust, and I don't want to comment further, but in the age of, paid studies and influence with huge amounts of whatever resources from different kinds, this is really the most important currency. And then the second thing is on the fact that we really need to massively accelerate cooperation, collaboration globally. And that's our core business as an independent think tank with approximately 120 partners from 35 countries. And you might remember our organization, DI, Desert Energy. DI stands for Desert Tech Industrial Initiative. So we are at Desert Tech 3.0. And I would like to briefly give you an overview on energy transition, what has been happening in the last 15 years in the Sahara Desert and in the desert of Dubai and Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth, and then focus a bit on the hydrogen developments and on why the region could be a strategic partner for Europe to deliver on the Green Deal. So when we started 15 years ago, it was more kind of a dream to harvest the vast solar and wind resources in the Sahara, in the region, also GCC. Many countries said, well, solar, we don't need it. We have oil and gas, and it's too expensive. Today, we are in a situation in which the region can deliver the lowest cost solar worldwide and the lowest cost wind. And countries like Morocco, they have onshore wind resources better than the best offshore wind spots in the North Sea. Onshore capacity factors like 60, even 70%. This is measured wind speeds over longer term. So this basically caused a small revolution. And I've been based in Dubai, as I said, for 10 years. And I've seen the solar park, the Mohammed bin Rashid Maktoum Solar Park, growing in this time from 13 to 3,000 megawatts. So my message is not only the lowest cost solar, so somewhere between 1 to 2 cents per kilowatt hour, and wind 1.5 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour, but you see today the world's largest projects, they're already live. And we are currently entering the age of exponential growth. So if you look at what is in the pipeline for the next 2 years, we have, a bit more than 20 gigawatts operational. We foresee almost a newly added capacity of 20 gigawatts every year in the region for the next few years. And this is only renewables. Hydrogen is basically multiplying the development and bringing in hydrogen now. So Desertec 3.0 incorporated hydrogen as the key pillar besides green electrons, green molecules. We always say green molecules are the best friend of green electrons. Why? Because you can store long term, you can bridge seasonal gaps, and you can transport much more efficiently and much higher quantities over longer distance. So while a subsea cable has, if a big capacity, maybe 2 gigawatt, a pipeline equivalent could have 20 or even more. So it's 10 to 20 times more capacity, by the way cheaply. You can check out our latest study. It is actually very hot. We presented it yesterday. So you can download it from our website, DII, desertenergy.org. And it looks at existing pipeline structure, infrastructure, how to convert this, how much it costs, so on and so forth. So you can transport, for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, something like this, huge amounts, basically per kilogram from the region to Europe. And Jorgo mentioned on the Eastern Mediterranean hydrogen pipeline, hydrogen infrastructure. Actually, we work a lot. Hydrogen Europe is one of our key partners, and all of these topics, we join forces. And as I said, collaboration is the most important thing. Hydrogen valleys. So when we launched the MENA Hydrogen Alliance a bit more than 4 years ago, actually before that, we've discussed hydrogen valleys, particularly with Dubai on the opportunities quite a few times. You can also check out a report we published in 21. It's also on our website. And also we did this with our partner, Roland Berger. This specifically refers to hydrogen valley opportunities in the region. Last year, we looked at how the 3 Omani ports in the north, the port of Sohar, and then Duqm, and in the south, close to Yemen, Salalah, how these ports can become hydrogen valleys and how Oman can become a global bunkering hub. So I think these kind of topics, they are already ongoing in the region. And if you go to NEOM, to Saudi Arabia, and if you go to Promenade, I think it's 60, 64 or something. It's really impressive. You can look at what is already happening today in NEOM. Let me give you this message that the world's largest green hydrogen project is under construction in NEOM. It is an $8.4 billion project, $6.1 billion and non-recourse project financing. So this is under construction. You can go there, see it with your own eyes. It's just impressive. And there is combined solar and wind resources in NEOM with a capacity factor of 72%. So you can imagine that the cost is already today quite competitive. And this is a lighthouse project globally. We've established a hydrogen project tracker in the region. 75 projects have been announced. And as my friend Jorgo said, we are all working together to push all the prerequisites from regulatory framework, adoption, certification, and other things on the off-taker sides to make projects bankable, that many of these announced projects can become to FID. But I'm afraid I don't have time to elaborate now specifically on every country. But as I said, the energy transition and the hydrogen movement is in full force in countries like Morocco, Algeria, Egypt. There is Dubai, the UAE. This is a massive development. Saudi Arabia is almost under communicating. Countries are establishing hydrogen strategies. So happy to discuss more in detail or to ask a few questions. But this is a very, very powerful movement, which is unstoppable. And over the last 2 years, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, obviously these topics have become high on the agenda in Europe, also for the energy security aspect. So let me maybe close here exactly after 9 minutes, and happy to answer any questions, and looking forward to a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Well, Thank you so much, Cornelius and Joshua. You did so well. The beautiful thing about this community and ecosystem is many of the players have already in the past successfully worked together to feel the friendly atmosphere. And this is exactly the energy needed to move forward and to move forward in an efficient and effective manner. We have up next our very appreciated Khaled Al-Ramel, Group CEO of BEA Group. BEA Group and UAE is a leader in sustainability with a very strong commitment to pushing innovation above or across the boundaries and bringing humanity to the next level. So please, Mr. Khaled, it's an honor to welcome you on stage.
Morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today and also to be invited to speak here at Davos. To give you a bit before about BEA Group. BEA Group is based in the UAE. BEA Group was founded as a public-private partnership with the vision of pioneering sustainable quality of life in the MENA region. So we've only been around for 15 years. But what are we doing today? Today in the UAE, we've become an investment holding group operating in various sectors. In waste management, we have become the leader in waste management. We are the largest waste management company in the UAE. We also have presence in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt. And what we have done also in the UAE, we've had a target of reaching zero waste. And this is what will lead us to hydrogen. So our target for zero waste, we've invested over the last 15 years in many different plants where we have reached in the city that we are based, the Emirates Sharjah, 90% diversion away from landfill, which is the highest diversion rate in the Middle East. How did we do that? So we built various different plants to treat and recover different types of waste. The latest plant was our waste to energy plant, which we inaugurated last year, which helped take us from 75 to 90%. At the same time, what we have been looking at is hydrogen, how we can convert waste to hydrogen. And during COP28, we announced the inauguration of a plant that we did through an international collaboration with Chinook Sciences from the UK and Air Water from Japan, where we inaugurated the first, which we call super green hydrogen plant from waste in Nottingham. And why super green hydrogen? Because it produces carbon negative hydrogen. So this was a first pilot, a successful pilot plant. Now we are moving on to a much bigger facility in the UAE. So why are we doing all of this? And how did this start from in waste management? Within the waste management sector, landfills contribute to 60% of greenhouse gas emissions. So we have to tackle the problem of landfills and how we can eliminate landfills. And that's why today we've reached 90% diversion away from landfills. Now, what do we do with these landfills after we reach zero waste? We repurpose them. So also during COP28, we announced that we're repurposing the Sharjah landfill into a solar farm, 120 megawatt solar farm. Now, there's also the transportation. The transportation is also another source of transport of waste, another source of greenhouse gas emissions. So for there, we're also looking at how we can have a greener fleet. So with the plant that we're looking for a hydrogen plant, we're looking at the same plant being a fueling station for hydrogen-powered vehicles. We also announced a few weeks ago, we are piloting a waste collection truck powered by hydrogen. So I believe this is all through international collaboration. So the example I gave that we are doing now in the UAE, this collaboration between Japan and the UK, where we successfully inaugurated this plant. Here in Davos, also, we have discussions with Ecubes of another collaboration that we are exploring, which is how we can connect the MENA region and Europe, the Adriatic, of how we can have another form of collaboration. BEA was formed in a partnership. We have actually many different collaborations. We also are in technology. We're building a data center, the first data center that is powered by waste, our waste to energy facility, 9 megawatt power. We do the track and trace of all medicine in the UAE. We're building hospitals. We're building net zero real estate development. So we become an international holding group which started from waste collection. And now we're exploring more with hydrogen and the future of hydrogen. And we feel the UAE has a strong commitment. And we believe, again, here at Davos, with more international collaborations, we'll be able to achieve better results. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan, for joining us today in this roundtable with BEA Group. As we learned, nothing goes to waste, no efforts go to waste. And rest assured, this will not be the first roundtable, because we will have many more of these roundtables to come in the future. We have now next Stephen Taylor joining us remotely. He is the strategic coordinator of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, which is in the European context our role model project, the first transnational collaboration between 3 governments. Please, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for participating today in what I'm sure is going to be a groundbreaking event. As Yip mentioned, my name is Stephen Taylor. I'm strategic coordinator of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley Joint Working Group, where we are building the world's first transnational hydrogen valley. A hydrogen valley endorsed by the European Commission, by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, and with the full participation of the governments of the 3 territories working across borders to create a real hydrogen economy with transactions flowing across borders. And that's very important. It's a very important characteristic of what we're doing, because it thoroughly engages with some of the biggest problems. So there are technical problems, obviously, and those are all being addressed and being addressed very efficiently, very effectively, and with great results. But there are also problems in terms of the relations between countries to establish transactional rules and regulations and make sure that the flows of the hydrogen economy can work efficiently and effectively. And that's why the work that we're doing in the North Adriatic is so important in pioneering an approach to revamping the regulatory framework to make sure that the right incentives are in place, to make sure that the right regulations are in place, to make that hydrogen economy function effectively across borders as a pilot case for what will happen at the European Union level and then internationally and globally. So it's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be with you today, and in particular to speak immediately after Mr. Khaled Al-Huraimel of BEA Group, because I know that the discussions ongoing between BEA Group and Ecubes, a founding member of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, are leading towards that kind of transcontinental collaboration that will be so important. As Jorge mentioned earlier, and Cornelius as well, the European Union has a strategy in place already to transition towards a green energy transition, but also a hydrogen economy as a key pillar in that green energy transition. In order to do that, it has already estimated the energy needs of the European Union and how it will meet those needs and the role of hydrogen in meeting those needs. And that estimate includes the consumption of 20 million tons per year of hydrogen across the European Union, of which 10 million should be produced locally and 10 million should be imported globally. Now, in the North Adriatic, we're driving the production and consumption of hydrogen. But if you imagine that in order to meet the European strategy and the European objectives, what we should be doing is to drive consumption twice as fast as we're driving production, then clearly what we need to be doing is also looking at all of the ways in which we can meet that gap, that 50% that we need of the hydrogen that we need to bring in to balance the books and make sure that by 2030, we have all the hydrogen we need to fully meet the demands of industry, of transport, and of the general public and the general economy. So we're working across the board in the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley to work on production of hydrogen from renewables using electrolysis, so green hydrogen, but also looking at the storage and distribution of hydrogen, the transportation of hydrogen, the consumption of hydrogen in a variety of industrial sectors, including the hard-to-abate sectors like cement and steel. And I know that Anna Mareschi-Danieli of the Danieli Group is there today. And Danieli Group is the epitome of what would be representative of a hard-to-abate industry, where hydrogen represents the very real necessary transitionary step to long-term sustainability in an industry that is fundamental to our manufacturing capability. And so meeting the needs of industry for hydrogen as we make that transition, and guaranteeing that we can meet those needs consistently, coherently, and effectively, means necessarily engaging with our international partners. And that's why it's such a great delight to me to hear the willingness and the interest from the UAE and other countries in the MENA region to participate and engage effectively, to collaborate together to produce that transcontinental hydrogen economy that Europe will need and require going forward. Historically, the North Adriatic has been a point of entry for traditional fossil fuel sources coming up through the Adriatic and then transitioning into the heart of manufacturing Europe. And I envisage that in the future, the North Adriatic will play a role as both a producer and user of hydrogen itself, but also as a key hub for the importation of hydrogen and the use of hydrogen as a key energy vector going forward right across the European Union. If I could ask Stephen Sepp to just switch off his microphone, I think that may be causing some interference there going forward, but I hope that you can still hear me. Looking forward at the future, there are many things that have already been said by Jorge and Cornelius in terms of the way that the hydrogen economy will develop and the need to transition towards hydrogen as part of the energy transition. But one of the key needs that they mentioned is to upskill the workers of the future that will populate the hydrogen economy and make it possible for the hydrogen economy to function effectively. The way that we will do that is through strong educational programs. And I'm also very happy that Ecubes and other partners have been working on developing educational programs like H2 Student, which has already been used in Sharjah, in the Emirate, which Mr. Khaled mentioned earlier, which is also the home of Bayer Group. And I think that type of collaboration to make sure that European skills can be transmitted and shared with our international partners to make sure that we all collaborate effectively, to make sure that we upskill the populations of all of our nations and territories so that we are ready to make the hydrogen economy a reality. H2 Student is one example of the kind of educational program that can really engage young people to be part of that transition and part of the hydrogen economy. And I know that with the support of IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency of the United Nations, and with the active participation from MENA countries, that will be rolled out in a significant way across a number of nations in the coming months and years. And I hope that with the support of Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Europe Research, many more educational programs will be born. And that's also a key pillar of what we're doing in the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, working with the university system, including the University of Trieste in Friuli Venezia Giulia and University of Udine, as well as universities in Slovenia, University of Ljubljana, and in Croatia, the University of Zagreb, and of course, the University of Rijeka, one of the ports, the port cities in the North Adriatic, where there is strong interest also in the importation of hydrogen. So we've come full circle in that discussion as well. I think the future is very bright, but the future does require action, and action requires trust. It's a theme that's been a key theme in Davos over the last few days. It was the theme of our last hydrogen ecosystem conference in the North Adriatic, because we already knew that there was a demand for hydrogen. We already knew that there was interest in producing hydrogen. We already knew that all of the ingredients were in place to make a fully functioning hydrogen economy work. What was missing was taking the first step, taking the first actions. And the way to do that was to build trust and make sure that those involved in every step of the value chain believed that together they could work on a mission that was a shared mission and make that happen. We managed to build that trust in the North Adriatic. We're building that trust with our partners in the Middle East and North Africa. And I believe that together, through trust, we can arrive at action. We can accelerate that action, accelerate that transition, and make the hydrogen economy a reality going forward. Once that is established, it will grow, just as every other paradigm shift in the past has led to not just a shift from one energy vector to another, but has opened up a world of possibilities and opportunities as that economy develops and evolves, and new technologies evolve to make it ever more efficient and ever more cost effective. I share Jorgo's view that hydrogen is not too expensive. We are simply in the early phases of a paradigm shift. And when that paradigm shift is completed, hydrogen will be one of the most cost-effective fuels ever seen on the planet, because we will not be hiding the costs as we have done with the fossil fuel-based economy, where we are seeing the impacts, the negative impacts on our climate and therefore on our society and our economy. And in the longer term, that is not sustainable. We need to shift to a sustainable future, and hydrogen will be a key pillar in that. Thank you all for your attention. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time. Once again, a real pleasure to be here, and I look forward to seeing this collaboration evolve in the future and seeing a growing transcontinental collaboration in the hydrogen arena. Thank you all very much indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen, so much for connecting the dots. You already mentioned education is key. And sometimes it just takes the butterfly to spark and ignite a movement. And after listening to 4 amazing speakers, who still has a doubt that we are at the tipping point of this paradigm shift? And, you know, it's easy to always cheer and support and move into a movement when the movement is already on the scale phase. But there are people who have supported movements from the beginning. There are these leading pioneers who have invested their time and commitment and support from their personal and their professional networks. And here is Lady Anna Mareschi Danieli, from a group executive and board member of Danieli Spa Group in Italy, who is one of these ladies who have paved the way for what we are seeing now. Please come.
I think this is what makes it. So hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for this invitation, Alex. So I have a different perspective, the user's point of view, that in my opinion is very important, because hydrogen has to be competitive. Otherwise, industries are not going to use it. The competition is global, and European taxation, not to mention Italy, is much stronger than in the rest of the world. And we don't have enough barrier to the entrance of production that allow us to be competitive in the costs. So we face a real issue of breaking even on cost. In the Hydrogen Alliance, as we heard before, there was an initial talk about energy neutrality by 2030. Now we are already seeing an extending of these dates, because investments are needed, and not just investment, huge investments. But where might hydrogen be used in the steel sector, to be concrete? Well, we use chemical energy, of course, so like the burners as an alternative to methane. Hydrogen can be used only when we have an excess of electrical energy. But however, it will always be cheaper to use it directly, since producing hydrogen itself requires electrical electrical energy, and we have to say this. This means that were we to use hydrogen, we would reduce the overall efficiency of the process. But regarding possible applications, hydrogen is thought to be the best way to reduce the carbon footprint. And actually is not a bad way, of course, but actually in steel industry, the two main elements in processes are energy and raw materials. And at the moment, the best way to reduce carbon footprint is using scrap. But there is another problem under scrap, because only 1/4 of the 2 billion tons of world steel production comes from scrap, because scrap is increasingly scarce. Today, about 700 million tons per year only. So it is thus necessary to mine virgin iron and subsequently produce pre-reduced iron employing a direct reduction plant. In any case, we have the technology to produce on hydrogen. It's patented and ready. The issue is that although the steel industry is already at the forefront of hydrogen and we could do sufficiently reduce CO2, we are still dependent on the cost and availability of energy. Although the steel industry is considered hard to abate, and it actually is, it does need to reduce emission, but as I said earlier, to do so, it's not the technology we lack, but the energy, which would allow hydrogen production. Thus, the fundamental problem today is not how to produce on hydrogen, but the availability of energy, which is where significant investments are needed. Unless figures as when the man went on the moon are considered for energy availability, thinking about energy neutrality is not credible. It is continuously said that industry must invest in this field, but in our sector, for example, we are ready. Direct reduction plants that currently use natural gas can switch to hydrogen tomorrow. But let's look at the numbers to be more concrete. I don't have to teach anything to this to people here, but I would like to underline why I'm talking like this. To have the energy neutrality, the difference between the cost per megawatt hour of electric energy minus the cost per megawatt hour of thermal energy from natural gas has to be equal to the cost per ton of CO2. Otherwise, doesn't have any meaning to speak about energy neutrality. Clearly, from an economical sustainability standpoint, electrical energy costs significantly more than the energy we produce with natural gas. And we know that if we want to produce hydrogen, we must do it through electrical energy. This leads me to conclude that it will always be more convenient to produce with natural gas. Currently, the difference between electrical and thermal energy is compensated by, shall be compensated by the carbon tax. But the carbon tax today is went down to €70 per ton of CO2. But to have the energy neutrality I was speaking before, it should be around 300. And with the carbon tax around €300 per ton of CO2, they will kill the European industry. So taxation is not the way. I'm getting to the point everybody is thinking actually. So we are clearly not there yet. This is clear. And for neutrality, the carbon tax that would need to be imposed is too high. This is the gap that needs to be overcome to make hydrogen an economical, viable energy source. Our thesis is that the battle cannot be won by imposing a carbon tax, which is primarily European, by the way. Winning is not possible through taxation. I have already said that. This battle can only be won by sourcing low-cost energy. Today, a direct reduction iron plant can operate on hydrogen, as I have already said, providing virgin iron for electrical furnaces that emit only 100 kilos of CO2 per ton of product. Just think that the current production of CO2 of the blast furnace coming from coke, is 2 tons of CO2 per ton. 100 kilos, 2 tons. So it's much different. We would already be at carbon neutrality if we had an hydrogen supply. The technology exists, but we need quantities of low cost and competitive energy, as continuing down the path of taxation won't end well. Returning to the fundamental cost of the steel industry, as I already said, energy and raw materials, we understand that the battle must be won by applying new technologies. But by this, I mean in energy availability. The technology for hydrogen, as I said, already exists and is in further development and optimization. And then there's the issue, as Mr. Georg already said, of nuclear power, which surely need to be developed and utilized. It, however, seems unlikely that the steel industry could keep itself with nuclear plants. We have already a huge problem in managing steam. So I cannot imagine a steel industry managing a nuclear plant. It means that somebody else has to supply energy for us. And we have a lot of different suppliers here. And then let's not forget the not in my backyard problem that in Italy is very strong. But I have been asked to answer also to another question that is about opportunity in educating the next generation about hydrogen. Of course, we need skills about hydrogen, but what we need immediately to do is to educate about the non-waste of any kind of resource, because our planet has few of them. So in my opinion, this should be enlarged, because we are still not there about non-waste of resource. So first of all, we need to speak about that. And about the last question, that is how can investors, collaborators help scale up hydrogen project? So I think it's clear to everyone that the public sector has to make the long and very long-term investment, and the private sector shall invest on the short-term ones. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. This means that we need a private-public strategy for energy, for an energy paper, for an energy strategy. And the Hydrogen Valley, Transnational Hydrogen Valley, is a very nice example of how hydrogen, in this case, can be managed on a higher level to allow users to become competitive in using it. So, Mr. Alec, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm available for any kind of question. Thank you very much.
Mr. Alex, you.
Thank you. Okay. Do you have a card? I don't have a card. I'll give you my.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I just don't want to take notes, but.
Okay. I just have to
Okay,
catch it.
sure, I got it.
Just a little break. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Anna. Next up is Luigi Crema, President of Hydrogen Europe Research, sharing with us the insights from academic perspective. Remote. Oh, Luigi is not online. No. Okay, but Rodolfo is online. Yes. Okay. Okay. So, short change of agenda. We have next Rodolfo Taccani, Pro-Rector for Technology Transfer at the University of Trieste, the research representative of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. Thank you so much.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for this great opportunity to discuss with you today. I'm really glad to share my thoughts on this important topic. So I will talk about our experience in the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley.
Can you please make bigger your screen? Can you zoom?
Yes, yes. Let's see. Better now? Very good.
Yes, very good.
Thank you. And I want to talk about our experience in the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley that was already mentioned by Mr. Taylor and Mr. Mareschi. So the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley is a project that addresses in particular the decarbonization of the hard-to-abate sector, as we have just heard. The production of steel, the production of glass, and the production of cement over 3 territories, Italy, and in particular the Friuli-Venezia Giulia region, Croatia, and Slovenia. Today, the valley overall value of the project is about 350 million, and today we are very lucky that 25 millions are coming from the European Union. And the aim is to produce 5,000 tons of hydrogen, of green hydrogen per year. So this gives you also some information about the investment required for the installation and the production of this green hydrogen. There are 27 partners, 19 industries, 3 public institutions, and 5 research and educational institutions. Well, the development of the Hydrogen Valley took about 3 years before achieving the necessary resources, and another 2 years will be necessary to have the first green hydrogen. But in spite of the long time required to start the project, the process itself was a very interesting example of transnational collaboration, a new form of transnational collaboration, as was mentioned before, where public institutions, industry, and research community work together. As for Italy, one of the first pilot project will be in the Friuli-Venezia Giulia region, in Trieste, and it regards the production of about 400 tons of hydrogen, of green hydrogen per year. It will require additional 24 months to come to the production of this first green hydrogen. And But we are there. We have all the permits, the tenders are ready, so it was really a very interesting experience. And here I come with the first lesson that we learned from this from the development of this hydrogen valley. And one of the data that we have today is that even if the advantage of using green hydrogen is paramount in terms of possibility to decarbonize some of the industrial processes that are located, by the way, nearby the plant, and the green hydrogen strengthens the energy resilience, recent studies based on more accurate simulation model and on the experience that we have today in these months show that the cost of electricity, as was mentioned by Ms. Mareski, is still high in the short term and could not be acceptable in some industrial processes. So therefore, the scaling up of the hydrogen sector, and in particular the investment on a transcontinental dimension, can be or is a key factor to accelerate the use of hydrogen in the energy transition. And it was mentioned before, in some areas, the possibility to exploit renewable energy sources is higher than Europe, and therefore the cost of electricity will be lower. Well, one of the objectives of the project is also the development of education and training programs with a particular focus on the energy transition and hydrogen. So not only hydrogen, on the energy transition overall. Today, when we talk about hydrogen to our students, and I refer in particular the student I know, the student from in the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, it is quite clear that hydrogen is not known. And when we talk about the connection between climate change, renewable energy, and hydrogen, only in few cases, the feeling is that the potential link is clear. For this reason, we have planned to develop a distributed competence center on hydrogen technologies in order to retain and attract talents and improve the competencies of our educators. We are also working to direct scientists in the initial phase of their career to understand how the results of their research can be used for scientific publication, but also to benefit society and introduce them to creative thinking, entrepreneurship, and innovation from brainstorming. This is in particular important as recent studies show an important gap that we have today in the hydrogen technology innovation system. If we consider three typical main indicators, papers, patents, and standards, we see that there is an important number of papers on hydrogen technologies, but the number of patents and standards, in particular on safety, is still not so high. Well, therefore, the next step is working on solid training in basic science and theories, but give the possibility to apply what learned in classroom to actual projects, fostering the students' hands-on skill and the involvement of researchers in the development of standards and patents. And for example, the H2 student concept is part of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. And then I come to the conclusion that the second lesson that we have learned that I want to share with you. Well, from the experience we have gained so far, it is amazing that once our students understand the potential of hydrogen in boosting the exploitation of renewable energy, there is a moment when, especially the youngest, became aware that that there can be something that we can do to fight climate change. And you can tell by the spark in their eyes that in that moment, they become aware that they can be part somehow of the energy transition, and they can be proactive to look for a better world. As Hydrogen Valley, we are ready to share these experiences with other territories and we deem successful the approach where the youngest participate actively to the pilot project, giving their contribution in terms of creativity and enthusiasm. And we are obviously welcome all the visionaries, young or young in spirit, to join our project. Thank you.
Oh, I extremely apologize that we basically were on mute when the audience in the room clapped. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Next up, we have invitation remarks to think a little bit differently about risk. We have with us one of Germany's leading data experts and risk experts, Ms. Christine Schäfer from ACS Plus. Welcome.
Thanks a lot. So listening this morning, what's my role now? And just perceive myself as a living call for action. In German we say, der Worte sind genug gewechselt, lass uns den Taten sehen, which means walk the talk. There was one sentence by you where really, in a way, it was like a shocking event. You said it would be climate neutral if it would have the hydrogen in an affordable fashion. So I think we don't have to discuss anymore. It's just, and before I introduce myself, I will do so, but my call for action here would be also for the people still virtually joining us here in the room. Just think about what's your little step today that you can contribute, and maybe we exchange emails, we form a little bit of a group. There have been so many good points from the different perspectives. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. One valley can learn from the other. Currently, how I perceive it, it would be cool if there would competition, because then the market would be there. So we are still in the phase collaboration. So, and from my perspective, what can I bring to the table? Thanks for the nice introduction. So I'm a specialist I'm an enabler. We are doing digital stuff, working with data all my life. And part of my background, I was for a very long time with Deutsche Bank and with Erste. You might know it, it's all here around the corner. And I was responsible for risk management, operational risk, also project finance and running complex projects. So for me today, it's just, let's sit together. I'm there to support. I have a lot of knowledge also in de-risking, mitigating action. And the point also is talk to each other, bring the lessons learned together. We have to start. We need to find the money and we need to start. Yeah, and with this, I would keep it short because I can't add a lot about hydrogen. It's yeah, but I think the point is go now. And that's what we need. Thank you.
So we've heard a lot about all the different elements from all different parts of the European ecosystem and Vienna ecosystem. There was one person, Alexander Gerbeck, who many years ago had this idea that hydrogen valleys should not only be driven top down, but that should also come as a grassroots movement. And he had this vision also to build upon all the different puzzle pieces that we have already now in the world and create, together with his esteemed partners, the transcontinental hydrogen valley. Please welcome to stage Alex Gerbeck, visionary founder of Ecubes.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. Actually, I believe that we all need some refreshment, so I would like to talk about fruit. I would like to talk about fruit of collaboration, which happened because first transnational hydrogen valley happened. We were trying to develop solutions that we can bring affordable, clean energy to the region, led predominantly by the industry, who understood that they have to and they want to decarbonize. And as Ms. Anna-Mariska Danieli mentioned, this is only possible if it's affordable, by the way that is affordable. So in this context, when we have created this partnership, we have been exploring how this could be possible. So production of hydrogen, of course, in majority cases makes sense where it's the place of production and end use. So it's competitive because transportation of hydrogen represents between 30 to 70% of cost. So we have been diving in this challenge, and we have been exploring and identified very interesting technologies which can help with that, so that we can bring affordable hydrogen to the region. And of course, it was a need to identify the right region, right partners, that together we build entire hydrogen value chain. So starting from demand side, with industry from the region, with support from the governments to scale up in this transitional period. On the other side, on the supply side, from the region where it's very abundant renewable resources, identifying appropriate technology solutions which can help to bring all these renewables to our region. We see that this is not possible, and this is how this fruit. We see it as a kind of next step of this collaboration, which can accelerate already ongoing partnership within Ecubes Valley. We created a project which is launched today. We are working now on pre-feasibility steps. The project is Oryx Green Adriatic Blue, which is about linking MENA countries with Adriatic, with Europe, North Adriatic region. And we see that this project can help to Europe to reach decarbonized goals with a very controlled and very defined sequence of the steps with a very real project. So we have people who are competent, we have partners who are willing to invest. So what it is now is we just need money to invest and to make this project happen and to make it happen. So this is the fruit of collaboration, which is fundamental step that accelerated energy transition. So thank you very much for your attention.
Wonderful. So with this, we came to the end of the contribution or the insights contribution part of our hydrogen roundtable. We will take a few minutes, about 5-7 minutes, to answer questions that you here in the live audience or those remote may have. So I will read out the question from the remote audience, or you can actually just unmute yourself. People cannot unmute themselves. You can raise your hands. If you can raise your hands, if you have a question, so that we can call you out.
So while we're waiting, can we go ahead and ask questions or comments?
Of course, of course.
So,
Yes.
So I live on a small island in the Caribbean, and it's called Bonaire. It's a Dutch island, and what we've concluded is that the shipment of clean hydrogen is going to be pretty expensive. But today we use the shipment of oil as the source of our energy. And so it's clear that we actually have a pretty high cost of energy already. If you look at the cost of moving hydrogen and you look at the cost of moving the energy, hydrogen may still be higher, but it doesn't have the negative spillover effects that the fossil-based, carbon-based energy usage is today. So we're actually, ironically, in an interesting situation, which is our cost structures are pretty high, so that anything we do is potentially going to lower our cost structure. So we started looking at hydrogen very closely. But we are looking at hydrogen not from the point of view of moving, turning electrons into molecules and then returning them into electrons across the seas. We're saying, hey, wait a second, we have wind and we have sun. So why don't we actually use wind and sun as our feedstock? And we're only 24,000 people on the island. And we happen to be a European island, we're a Dutch island. So we actually have access into the EU resources. And why don't we become a model of generating clean hydrogen from wind and solar on an island and use that to decarbonize ourselves entirely. Now, what is interesting is that, and I hereby invite you all, is that we are going to have the inaugural Caribbean Hydrogen Valley Summit on Bonaire this year. It's the first time it's being held. And because we are part of the Netherlands, we will have the support of the Dutch machine. And because we are part of the European Union has come up with a project called 30 by 2030. And what it is 30 islands in Europe that are going to be model islands for energy transition. And the EU is going to be, it made that announcement and selected. It had a 6-month-long competition. And in November, December, this last year, they announced the 30 islands that will be role model islands for the EU. 29 of those islands are in continental Europe. And it should come to you with no surprise that there's one island in the Caribbean that's part of the 30 by 2030, and that's Bonaire. So I'm really delighted to be invited to be here. I want to, of course, invite you all and learn from the experience of the other hydrogen valleys. I would like to invite you to come to Bonaire and share experience. But the key thing I want to learn is the ability to have an entirely circular hydrogen production capability with no movement of electrons to molecules to electrons. So that's something I want to learn for you guys who has done stuff that they've locally generated.
Yeah, we did it. But also what is very important. Yeah. What is also very important, already available technologies that you can transport hydrogen on a long distance for very attractive price. So it's coming on the 27th, it's going to be on the market. So it's perfect what you do, combining also with large scale projects that's going to be happening, that are happening in the region. So it's ideally what you do, combining in also, let's say, in transcontinental collaboration.
So what this is actually that the marriage is kind of interesting because the Caribbean lends itself as a region to a lot of experimentation. In the north, we have the United States of America and Houston sitting there with billions being spent in the US IRA project to bring hydrogen and to use mass production, and they're looking of applications. And then we have these islands all across, islands like stuff that are actually a part of Europe, that are actually saying, hey, can we not just run this thing entirely independently? We've spoken to Airbus and Boeing and GE and others, and they have small planes that they have for 12 people that they can fly today for 1 hour. We only fly 15 minutes from Bonaire to Curacao, 15 to Aruba. So we only need a hydrogen fuel 12-person plane to run 15 minutes. They have it today. So our idea is to take the wind and solar, generate the hydrogen, use it for transit on the island, plug it into the plane, fly 15 minutes, and then do it across that entire Caribbean hydrogen valley. So it's your point about the movement of, I mean, we're going to look at it, but as an additionality, we're certainly not going to ship what we do today is that we ship fossil fuels from the other side of the planet. Which is
you have very nice value because you have abundant resources, renewables. In our region, the case is different.
Exactly.
So this is why we are buying on solution which fits us.
Exactly.
In your case, again, it's fantastic. What you need is just to build things.
Exactly. And in the tropics, I would assume all around the world that there'll be spots where we can actually replicate.
So there is any other question?
Yeah, it is actually on that topic. I would add, because you said by 2030, right? 30 by 2030. So 2 operation islands. I know they're also one, the same goal. And we have a presenter, I know he's watching this, he's live with us. And actually it's a good project with eventually connect you with one of operation islands.
Congratulations, you already achieved your...
And using the new technology, which is affordable, and between the islands, even on long-term those kind. I want you to witness the handshake. Just. A deal got done. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wonderful. We had one question from the audience, online audience, which was about the target price of green hydrogen. If we speak about cost efficiency, does anyone in the audience have an answer to that, or maybe even Alex? What is like in your project?
So the starting point for our design was demand from market. We understand that price of hydrogen delivered on site to Europe shall be below €3, and this is our objective. How to optimize production side, to optimize logistic, to innovate on all these fields to reach this target, and we see that this is possible. So we have this argumentation now. On 27 we will have first 5,000 tons available, delivered to North Adriatic. And once this is proven, then we can scale up with the biggest capacity. So this is objective.
And what's your call to action to the community here?
So I would like to inform about what we are doing. We have developed technologies. We have identified the right partners on the offtake side, on the supply side, for the logistic. We would invite partners to work towards together, because when we reach a pilot project and that FID will be reached, then we will start, let's say, communicate with institutional investors. But the best would be that they would step now into the learning process with us, so that they will be educated, because otherwise this process will take another 2-3 years before they will understand is this case. So we would like just to accelerate these processes. We learned this through the last 9 years, as much as we needed to come to this point. So we are opening now this information, and we are creating a kind of sounding board. That's why we would like to invite interested parties to develop together this project. This is the goal.
I think with the beautiful insights that we gained today from all different perspectives of hydrogen, from the past, accomplishments from the past, and commitments to build on the future, in particular building the education of tomorrow. We have reached a point where we'll open up the roundtable just for networking. We will do that separately. So hybrid networking will happen online on Zoom, and in Davos at the World Economic Forum, we will convene here and have a cup of tea and exchange and meet in person. Thank you so much for your time investment in coming here to join forces, join hands, and join brains. Thank you. Thank you.